I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this on Reddit, but here I am. Maybe I needed to tell someone. Maybe I needed to get it out of my head before I do something I'll regret. Anyway, here goes. It started about a week ago, but honestly, I should have seen the signs long before that. My wife, Lisa, and I have been together for 8 years. We got married last year in a small ceremony. Everything was supposed to be perfect, her glowing, me feeling like I'd won the lottery. She was pregnant 8 months now. We were supposed to be building a life, planning for a future, or so I thought, but I guess I was blind, or maybe I just didn't want to see what was right in front of me. Looking back, there were little things. She'd be on her phone more than usual, secretive. Sometimes she'd brush past me when I tried to look at her, her cheeks flushing. I thought she was just tired or overwhelmed. Pregnancy hormones, that's what I told myself. I never suspected anything serious. Then came the night of our wedding rehearsal, a night I thought would be just another step toward the big day. I stayed late at work, then rushed home to help her finalize everything. The house was quiet when I got there. Usually she'd be waiting with a smile, maybe a glass of wine. Instead, I found her sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Her face was tense, almost guilty looking. I sat down across from her. "Hey, everything okay?" I asked, voice casual. She waved a hand dismissively. "Yeah, just tired, long day." There was a flicker of something in her eyes. Guilt, nervousness. I didn't get a chance to dig deeper because I noticed her phone sitting face down on the table. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I saw the message alert. A name I didn't recognize, but the words made my stomach sink. "Can I see your phone?" I asked, suddenly feeling cold. She hesitated, then handed it over. I saw the text bubble pop up. It was from Mark, my best man, just a simple message. But the message, it made my skin crawl. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Been thinking about you all day." My heart started pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I stared at her, trying to process what I'd just read. She looked away, avoiding my gaze, her cheeks suddenly flushing even more. I felt my palms sweat, my head spun. How many times had I missed the signs? How long? I looked at her, voice tight. "Lisa, what's this?" She looked at me, eyes wide, then quickly snatched the phone back. "It's nothing," she mumbled. "Just a joke between friends." Yeah, right, a joke. That's what she wanted me to believe. But her hands trembled as she pushed the phone aside. I knew I was onto something. I had no proof, but that message, the way she acted, said everything. I kept staring at her, my stomach twisting. Something inside me snapped. I decided I wasn't going to let this slide, not anymore. I sat there, feeling the heat rise in my chest, the cold sweat on my palms. I needed a plan. I needed to know what was really going on, and I needed to end it. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling around that message, her nervous glances, the way her voice cracked when she lied. I knew I had to find out more. I had to catch her red-handed, or at least get concrete proof, so I started digging. I checked her phone again when she was in the shower, going through her messages. There were more. Flirty texts, suggestive emojis, even plans to meet up. She'd been sneaking around, hiding everything. I felt a cold fury building inside me. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a betrayal, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I remembered a conversation I'd overheard once about her meeting Mark late at night. I kept that in mind. I also knew I couldn't confront her immediately. I needed something solid, a way to catch them in the act, or at least something undeniable. So I set up a little surveillance. Nothing fancy, but enough to catch her in her lies. I told her I was going out for a quick dinner with some friends. She agreed, smiling, but I saw the flicker of satisfaction in her eyes. She thought she'd get away with it. I waited. Hours went by. I stayed up, nervously watching the clock, feeling like I was on the edge of a precipice. Then at around 11:30 p.m. I saw her slip out of the house. I followed her, quiet as a shadow, keeping to the darkness. She entered the apartment of Mark. I saw her through the window, her silhouette moving close to his door. That's when I knew. Everything I suspected was true. I saw her kissing him through the glass. It hit me like a punch to the stomach. How stupid I'd been to ignore the signs, to pretend everything was fine. It was real. My wife, my future, cheating on me with my best man. I didn't go inside. I didn't want to make a scene there. Instead, I waited outside in the dark, my mind racing with revenge. I knew what I had to do. I had enough evidence now. The trust was shattered and I wasn't going to walk away without consequences. That's where I am now, trying to figure out my next move. I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, but here I am. Betrayal cuts deep, especially when it comes from someone you thought you knew. And I swear I'm not going down quietly. Do you want me to keep going? The next morning I woke up with a pounding head and a stomach that felt like I'd swallowed razor blades. The cold night outside hadn't helped. My mind kept telling me to act, but I wasn't sure what the right move was yet. I had the proof. I'd watched her slip into Mark's apartment like she was sneaking into a den of lies. But now what? Do I confront her? Do I cut her out immediately? Or do I wait, play it cool, gather more info? I sat on the edge of the bed, feeling the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. My palms still sweaty from the night before. I ran my fingers through my hair, trying to think clearly. I knew I couldn't let her brush this off, not after what I saw, but I also needed to be smart about it. I couldn't just explode and ruin everything without a plan. I decided to check her phone again, just to confirm what I already knew. I wanted to be sure I hadn't missed anything. I tiptoed into the bedroom, keeping the door barely open, and grabbed her phone from the bedside table. Her notifications lit up, more messages from Mark, some from other guys. All suggestive. I scrolled through, heart pounding, every new message amplifying my anger. There were pictures too, not explicit but enough to make my stomach turn. One was a selfie she sent him last night, her lips parted, eyes sultry. The caption was simple, "Can't wait to see you again." That was enough. I closed her phone softly, feeling the cold shock settle in my chest. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just sit here and pretend everything was okay. But I also didn't want her to know I was onto her yet. If I confronted her now, she'd just lie or deny. I needed her to slip up again, or I had to catch her in the act one more time. I had to make her realize I wasn't just some fool to be played. I remembered Mark's apartment was a few blocks away. I decided I'd go there, just to see if I could catch her again, maybe find something more concrete. I packed a small bag. Not because I planned to leave immediately, but because I needed options. If this went south, I wanted to be prepared. As I slipped out the door, I felt my heart pounding so loudly I thought everyone in the neighborhood could hear. I kept my steps light, not wanting to draw attention. I had my phone ready, a plan in mind. I would pretend to be casual, go check the place out. If she was there again, I'd be ready this time. Walking through the cold morning air, I saw her car parked outside Mark's place. My stomach clenched. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I didn't want to lose my cool. Instead, I approached slowly, peering through the window. There she was, her hair messy, sitting on the couch texting. That's when I saw him, Mark. They were laughing, close enough that I could see their bodies pressed lightly together. She was leaning into him, her hand resting on his knee. My heart felt like it stopped. This was real, no more doubts, no more denial. I backed away quickly, feeling a mix of rage and heartbreak. I had enough now. I had seen her in the act. It wasn't just a flirtation, it was outright betrayal. I knew what I had to do. I would not let this slide. Not anymore. I started planning my next move, how to catch her, what to say to everyone when I was done. I had some ideas, but I needed to be careful. This wasn't just about cheating, it was about my dignity and my future. I couldn't let her destroy what little trust we had left. Back home, I sat in the quiet, replaying everything I'd seen and heard. My hands clenched into fists. My mind was racing, trying to figure out how to turn this into my revenge. Something calculated, something that would send her a message she wouldn't forget. She thought she was clever, sneaking around, hiding texts, but I was done playing her game. I was going to make her regret ever crossing me. I knew I had to be patient. I had to wait for her to slip up again, or I'd have to create a situation where I could catch her red-handed. So I stayed quiet for a few hours, watching, waiting. Inside, I felt a dark satisfaction brewing. I was no fool. I knew I could turn this into something she'd regret, something that would make her wish she'd never betrayed me. I picked up the phone and started drafting a plan. Not just a confrontation, but a calculated move that would reveal everything. I was going to make sure she knew I was onto her, that I'd seen enough, that I wasn't going to let her walk away scot-free. My stomach still twisted, but I felt a strange calm. Justice, I'd call it, or maybe just revenge. Either way, I was ready to make my move. The question was, how far was I willing to go? And how much more pain could I take before I snapped? Next part. I spent the next couple of days planning every step carefully. I didn't want to rush into anything and blow it. That night, I went over every detail in my head. I needed her to slip up again, something undeniable, and I had to be ready to catch her red-handed. By then, I'd already gathered enough proof to ruin her if I wanted. But I wasn't just looking for a confrontation. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done. That meant I needed to set the trap right, make her believe she was still in control until it was too late for her to deny anything. I also made sure to keep my voice calm, my demeanor cool. If I appeared desperate or angry, she'd just dismiss me or lie more convincingly. I had to be the one in control of the situation, no matter how much it was tearing me apart inside. That evening, I told her I was heading out for a quick walk. She didn't look suspicious, just tired, maybe annoyed I was leaving again. She was probably used to me going out, but I kept my phone in my pocket. I had a plan to catch her again, this time on her home turf. I followed her from a distance, staying in the shadows. When she entered Mark's apartment complex, I kept walking around the block, pretending I was just out for a stroll. But I kept my eyes on their window the entire time. And what I saw made my stomach tight, her sitting on the couch again, texting, smiling. Mark's silhouette was behind her. I watched her lean in, whispering something. I couldn't hear what, but her body language was clear. She was comfortable, close. They were definitely more than friends. I felt the blood drain from my face as I realized how deep this went. No turning back now. I waited until she left. When she was gone, I slipped inside Mark's apartment. I wanted to see if there was any additional proof. I looked around, nothing incriminating on the surface, but then I found her purse tucked into a corner. I opened it carefully, searching for her phone. There it was, her phone, lying face down, just like the night before. I grabbed it, heart pounding. I couldn't believe I was about to go through her things, but I had no choice. I turned it on, scrolling through her recent messages. Every text I saw confirmed what I already knew. She was cheating on me with Mark, and they'd been doing it for months behind my back. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. I'd lost respect for her, lost everything I thought we stood for. I pressed delete on a few of the messages, knowing I would need some of them for my plan. That's when I saw a photo she'd sent Mark, her in a revealing outfit with a caption, "Wish you were here." That was the moment I decided I had enough. I wasn't going to confront her directly anymore. That wouldn't hurt her as much as I wanted. Instead, I would use her own betrayal against her. I'd send her message to everyone, her friends, her family, my friends. I'd make her regret ever crossing me. My plan was simple but cruel. I'd leak her messages and photos to everyone she knew. She'd be publicly humiliated. She'd lose her reputation, her friends, her respect. That was her punishment for betraying me and destroying everything we built. I spent the next hour compiling everything, screenshots of texts, photos, timestamps. I created a detailed dossier, making sure I had all the evidence laid out. I'd send it out in a mass email anonymously so she wouldn't know it was me until it was too late. While I was at it, I took her keys from the hook by the door. I knew she might try to play victim later, deny everything, or even come home to find her belongings gone. I wanted to be ready to cut her off completely. I wasn't giving her the chance to spin her lies. Then I sat back, feeling the adrenaline rush. My hands trembled as I hit send on the email, attaching the files. The message was simple: some truths you need to see. I used a fake account, one that wouldn't trace back to me. I watched her phone all evening, waiting for her to see what I'd done. I knew it would hit her hard. She'd probably panic, try to deny everything, or worse, try to contact me. But I didn't want her to have that power anymore. I wanted her to realize her betrayal had consequences, real ones. That night she came home just as I expected. The moment she stepped inside, her face drained of color when she saw her phone blinking with notifications. She grabbed it, scrolling furiously. Then her eyes widened as she saw the email, a flood of messages from friends, colleagues, even her parents, all reading the proof. Her hands shook. "What is this?" she whispered, voice trembling. I stood in the doorway, watching her meltdown. "You lied, you cheated, and now everyone knows," I said calmly. "Enjoy the fallout." She looked at me, eyes filled with shock, guilt, and rage. "You're crazy," she spat, voice cracking. "No," I said. "I'm just done being played. You want to run around with Mark behind my back. Have fun explaining that to everyone." Her face twisted in anger, but I didn't care. I had made my point. I knew she'd try to spin her way out of this, but it wouldn't work. The damage was done. I was done. I walked out, grabbing her keys from the hook. I paused at the door and looked back. "I suggest you start packing," I said. "You're not living here anymore." She yelled back, but I was already gone. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I knew I'd done the right thing, but it didn't make it hurt any less. Sometimes, justice means destroying what's broken, and I wanted to make sure she understood betrayal has a price. Next part. After I left her standing there with her phone in her hand, everything changed. I knew the fallout would be brutal, but I didn't care anymore. She had crossed every line, and I was done pretending she was innocent. I had to get out of the house, get away from the chaos I'd just unleashed, so I drove to my brother's place, a safe space for now. I needed to breathe, process, and figure out what to do next. When I finally sat down in his living room, the silence was deafening. My stomach was still twisted from everything I'd seen and done. My head was pounding and my palms were sweaty. I kept replaying her face, the shock, the rage. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life, and I could tell it was only going to get worse from here. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block out the images, but they kept flashing back. Her kissing mark, the messages, her stupid smile. My brother looked at me, his brow furrowed. "What the hell happened?" he asked quietly. I took a long breath and told him everything, how I found out, the evidence I collected, how I'd leaked everything. I saw him nod slowly, understanding the scope. "That's fucked up," he said, voice low. "You did what you had to do, man." "Yeah," I muttered, "but I don't know how I'm supposed to deal with this now. It's like my entire world just crumbled." He looked at me with a mix of sympathy and disbelief. "You want my honest opinion? You should cut her out, completely. No second chances. You deserve better than someone who cheats on you when you're about to bring a kid into this world." I clenched my fists, feeling a rush of heat in my chest. "She's 8 months pregnant with my kid. How do I just walk away from that?" He shrugged. "You're not walking away from your kid, but you're not tied to her anymore either. If she's willing to destroy your marriage, your trust, and your future just like that, then she's not worth holding on to." I rubbed my temples. And what if she tries to screw me over even more? I don't trust her. I don't want her in my life anymore. Then do what you gotta do. Protect yourself and your kid. That's all that matters now. I stayed in his place that night, trying to piece myself back together. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her betrayal. I kept asking myself how I let it get this far, how I missed every warning sign. The truth was, I'd been blind. I'd wanted to believe in her, in us. But now I saw everything clearly. She was gone. The next morning, I called a lawyer. I needed to get the ball rolling on the divorce, custody, and any legal protections I could get. I didn't want her near my kid, and I definitely didn't want her in my life anymore. I told her to leave the house that day, and she didn't argue much. Just a lot of crying, pleading, and shouting, but I held firm. No way I was going to let her manipulate her way back into my life after this. As she packed her things, I felt an odd mixture of relief and emptiness. Part of me still loved her, or at least wanted things to be different. But deep down, I knew I couldn't trust her again. Not after this. Every time I looked at her, I saw a stranger, someone capable of betraying everything we built. When she finally left, I took a deep breath and shut the door behind her. It felt like closing a chapter I never wanted to open. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There'd be court dates, custody battles, and a lot of pain to work through. But I also knew I was better off without her. I sat down on my couch, feeling the weight of it all settle in. I'd done what I needed to do, even if it hurt like hell. I'd protect myself and my kid, and I'd start rebuilding from this ruin. For now, I just wanted to get through the day. Looking back, I realized how much I'd ignored, the warning signs, the little lies, the distant glances. I was blinded by love, but that love turned out to be a lie. I don't regret what I did. If anything, I wish I'd seen the truth sooner. Maybe I could have saved myself some pain. But I also know it's better to be alone and honest than to stay with someone who'd betray you like that. So yeah, lesson learned. Trust your instincts no matter how much you want to believe in the best, and never let someone cheat and lie their way into your life without consequences. Next part. The days after she left were a blur of paperwork, legal calls, and trying to hold myself together. I'd never felt so exhausted, emotionally drained, and just plain numb all at once. Every time I thought about her, the betrayal, the lies, it made my stomach churn. But I knew I had to keep moving forward, not just for me, but for the kid I was about to bring into this mess. I spent hours on the phone with my lawyer, sorting out the custody arrangements. I wasn't going to let her manipulate the situation. She'd already done enough damage. When she left, she took nearly everything, her clothes, her belongings, and some of her jewelry. I kept her keys, her phone, and most of her personal stuff. I wanted to make sure she couldn't just come back without my say-so, and I wasn't planning to give her any reason to. One thing I did do before she left was make a copy of all the evidence I'd collected, the messages, the photos, everything. I knew this wasn't just about ending things. I needed to protect myself from future attempts to twist the story, to accuse me of something I didn't do. I was prepared for her to try to manipulate the situation, and I wasn't going to give her that chance. In the quiet moments, I'd sit and stare at the walls, feeling the emptiness settle in deep. I'd catch myself replaying that night, the betrayal, the kiss, the messages. It was like a bad movie I couldn't turn off. But I knew that I had to focus on what was next, rebuilding my life, protecting my kid, and making sure she never hurt me again. I also reached out to some friends I trusted. I needed support, someone to help me process how I was feeling. The worst part was feeling so alone. Everyone knew she was pregnant with my kid, but I hadn't told many people what she'd done. I wanted to keep that between us for now, to avoid gossip or unnecessary drama. But talking to my friends helped, made me feel less like I was drowning. One thing I made clear: I was done with her, finished. No second chances. That was the hard truth I had to accept. She had lied, cheated, and destroyed everything we'd built. I wasn't going to let her do it again. The first few days, I found myself waking up with anxiety gnawing at my stomach. Every little sound, every car that pulled up outside made me jump. I'd get these waves of anger, then sadness, then guilt. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? How did I let someone I loved do this to me? It was a crushing weight, but I also knew I had to stay strong for my kid if nothing else. I started making plans, not just for legal custody, but for my future. I wanted a fresh start, a place where I could heal without the ghost of her betrayal haunting me. I looked at new apartments, started saving money, and even went to a therapist just to get some perspective. I needed to learn how to forgive myself for trusting her, for thinking she was different. One thing I did not do was contact her. I refused to give her the satisfaction of knowing I was hurting. I wanted her to feel the consequences of her actions. I had sent out the evidence to everyone I trusted, and I was sure the fallout was already starting. Friends and family were messaging me, offering support, telling me I deserved better. That helped more than I thought it would. But beneath all that, I was still hurting, still angry. It was like a raw wound that refused to heal. I'd see couples walking hand in hand, happy and oblivious, and it stung. I'd hear about other friends, relationships, and I'd wonder if I'd ever trust again. Could I ever get past this? Could I ever love again? The answers weren't clear, but I knew I had to focus on surviving first. One night I sat alone, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of everything. My stomach clenched painfully. I thought about her, how she'd betrayed everything, how she'd used love as a weapon. It made me sick. But I also realized something. I was alive, I was still standing, and I still had a future ahead of me. I decided I wouldn't let her steal that from me. I'd rebuild my life, even if it took years. I'd be cautious, but I'd also remember that I deserved someone who wouldn't betray me, who would respect me and my family. The final thing I did that night was write a simple letter to myself. Just a few lines to remind me that I am stronger than this betrayal, that I'm worthy of love and respect, and that I won't let her define me. I folded it up, put it in a drawer, and vowed to read it whenever I felt weak. This was the darkest chapter of my life so far, but I knew I'd come out of it stronger. I didn't see her anymore, and I wasn't planning to. My focus was on moving forward, on protecting my new family, and on making sure she never hurt me again. Next part. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of legal meetings, emotional upheaval, and gradual healing. I kept my distance from her, refusing to let her manipulate my feelings anymore. Every time I thought about her, the betrayal, the lies, my jaw clenched tighter, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I finally had clarity. I knew what I had to do, and I was committed to it. I managed to get full custody of my kid, which was the most important thing in all this chaos. I filed for divorce, and the process moved quickly once I presented the evidence. Her pleas and attempts to manipulate the situation only reinforced that I made the right choice. I saw her one last time at the courthouse, her face pale, eyes swollen. She tried to look remorseful, but I saw through it. The only thing she showed was how much she'd destroyed. After everything, I handed over the keys to the house, locked the door behind me, and walked away. I didn't look back. I knew I'd never trust her again, and honestly, I didn't want to. I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness, but it was the kind of emptiness that comes with finally reclaiming control. I moved into a new place, started fresh, and began focusing on my health and my future. I found a new job, met new people, and slowly, piece by piece, put my life back together. My kid is thriving, despite everything, and I remind myself every day that I did what I had to do to protect them. The revenge, I won't lie, it was satisfying. Seeing her face the consequences of her actions, knowing she was humiliated and exposed, was a kind of justice I didn't think I'd feel. But honestly, what helped me most was knowing I didn't have to live in that betrayal anymore. I could finally breathe again. Looking back, I realize I overlooked a lot of warning signs, but I also learned a lot about myself. Trust is fragile. I will never let anyone take that away from me again without proving their worth. I learned that love is powerful but also dangerous when given too easily. And most importantly, I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing someone, it's moving on and proving you're stronger without them. So, if you're ever in a similar situation, here's what I want you to remember. Protect your heart, trust your gut, and don't be afraid to walk away. Revenge may feel good for a moment, but peace comes from knowing you did the right thing, even if it hurts like hell. Sometimes the best thing you can do is cut your losses, rebuild stronger, and never look back. I'm done with her. I'm done with the lies, and I'm finally ready to move forward.